Hi guys, my name is Sean. I'm a houseplant enthusiast from Jakarta, Indonesia. In today's video, I'm going to be rescuing some plants here on the table. Actually picked them up from their respective shelves. These plants were actually in decline for the past few months, ever since my move, and I've been watching their decline slowly in the back of on the corner of my eyes, and I just kind of left them alone because I was so busy. I didn't really have a lot of time, and I figured that I'll do an episode where I try to troubleshoot them. There are many species that we're covering today, so there's a whole variety of kind of plant care tips and rescue tips and things like that in today's episode. So it's going to be a fun one. And of course, I'm going to be inserting the update on how they're doing after my rescue process. And today's video is going to be a little bit different format. Normally I film the rescue and then a few months later I would show you an update at the end of the video, but this time we'll go species by species, where I'm going to show you before and after so that you're not jumping around the species. So it's going to be an interesting format. So follow my journey over the course of a few months as I try to rescue some of these plants. Let's start right here with this Boston fern. It's a Nephrolepis species. I'm not exactly sure which variant this is because there's so many of them, but this is the very common one. And if you're looking at this, you think, this is looking fine, there's nothing wrong with it. Look at that. So this has kind of slowed down with the growth. It used to see better days. It's very full, it's very rosette, just really perfect. What this needs is to be pruned, so I'm going to do that in a bit. And then this is what happens when you leave them outside. They start producing babies. So all these aerial roots that they put out, it goes into the ground, and then it will appear somewhere else as fronds. How beautiful these babies are. These are actually really pretty plants to care for. They're not expensive, and if you put them in very beautiful pots, they will look so nice. They'll elevate any living space. And as you can see, they're quite prolific growers. So yeah, I'm going to be taking this pot out and I'm going to rescue it. I'm going to divide it. It is so messy in here. It's very, let me see if I can show you other angles. This is not a beautiful, look at that. It's just messy. So I'm going to have to separate it. It's probably very, root bound. So I'm going to propagate this. And I don't know what I'm going to do with the propagates because, yeah, there will be so many of them and these won't worth a lot of money. So my store will not be carrying this, I guess. Or maybe it will, but we're out of space. We're running out of space. So we can't have so many of you little ones running around the nursery. All right, so here's that fern. I'm going to divide it up. I'm going to cut off all the dead fronds and also some of the dead roots. And I'll see you later because I don't want this video to be 2 hours long. So I will see you after I'm done. I'm going to put on some music too while I'm at it because this is going to take about an hour, I think. Oh, it's worth mentioning that everything is so tight in here. There's no way I can divide it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it. As you can see here, this is actually one plantlet over here. This clump. So I'm just going to have to cut it off. Of course, with two hands, I'm not going to do it right this second, but I'm going to cut it off and then separate them that way. And here's what the cut looks like. I know it looks really painful and it's probably lost a lot of roots, but it only needs a little bit of roots in the base of the plant right here. So yeah, it's taken off from that chunk over there. I'm going to keep going. So I cut the base of the plant off and you can see here that they have these little tubers here. Honestly, if I threw this into the ground or into another pot, a lot of fern will come out of this, but it'll take quite a bit of time and I have too much fern, so I'm actually going to throw this away. But yeah, this is the last cutting. I should cut the base off as well. So I'm going to have many of these clumps that I'm just going to pot up and plant up. All right, so I'm done separating them. So yeah, I guess I forgot to mention that for this particular species, I think the only way to save it was to propagate it because the original pot was so very full. It just didn't have any more room to grow and it's just going to get uglier and uglier and it's going to constrict each other. So yeah, I don't even know what to do with all these pots. So honestly, these guys, the pot and the potting mix is more expensive than the plant itself. So I guess in a few months, I'll give you guys an update, which you will see in a few seconds. This is actually 2 weeks update on the plant, and as you can see, a lot of the fronds have died off, but do not worry, this is normal because the plant is not really used to the potting mix that it's in yet, so it takes time for the roots to really grip into it and for it to put out new fronds. So the fronds that were originally existing, like these ones here, we can go ahead and trim them off and then wait for new growth. Here's a 9 weeks update, and this is everybody. I don't remember losing a pot, so everybody did survive. And they're growing. Look at these fronds, they're unfurling. They're growing and growing. I really love to rescue ferns. because they come back so quickly. It is not pretty yet, it needs a few more months for it to get really bushy, but look at this baby growth here. This is actually very easy. Again, that really good light, a little bit of direct sunlight, just water it every day and it will do fine. Let me see if there's any more. There's one right here, look at that frond unfurling. I really love this, this really makes my day. And this one is gonna just roll open like that. So yeah, very successful with this rescue, very happy. So sometimes with ferns you do have to divide them for them to be happy, because I remember the pot we saw earlier, it was so crazy full, it was so unmanageable that yeah, now I have so many pots of these, I don't even know what to do with them. The next plant on our list is the Syngonium variegated yellow. This is one of the cuttings taken from this mother plant here. It's doing really badly. I have a feeling that the potting mix may be a little bit too soggy for it. I actually just moved into this potting mix, by the way. It was in a weird nursery potting mix with like a lot of dried bamboo that was like very heavy. It was actually dense with water. So I think it's probably going to be better here, but I'm going to actually propagate this. This is turned into a propagation video because as you can see here, there are actually a lot of nodes and these are all the growing eyes. If you want to watch how I propagate Syngoniums, feel free to watch my Syngonium video, which I'll link up above. This is another node here. So I'm going to cut them into each section because this is an ugly plant right now. I am done with the cut. I know it looks really sad right now, please, but give me a few months and I'll show you how this can turn into something amazing. There are actually two cuttings in here. The roots are actually rooted in there. So just cut the single node with the root still attached as well and just stuck it here. There's a little growing eye here in this one. Let me see. There. So I'm going to try to bury this a bit. And there's another one here with also another growing eye. So I just slice it off and just tuck it in here. And it's already rooted in there. It's just a single node cutting. And these are rootless cuttings. They're just basically single nodes with growing eye facing up. This one was the top cutting. I don't think it's going to make it. The leaf is still very soft and the previous leaf has rotted off. And yeah, here are some more wet sticks. And this is the one leaf that has a little bit of roots. Here's a 9 weeks update. I lost most of them, so I only got these two. This one's put out a albino leaf with a little bit of green. And then this one's put out a baby leaf, this cutting here. And this is the parent plant. Nothing's grown out of this little vine here. I was expecting a side shoot to come out. But this one put out a side shoot. Look at this half moon leaf, so cute. But yeah, these guys are not easy at all. I don't know what's wrong with them. They grow very slowly. They tend to rot before they actually root. And yeah, I don't think they like to be watered at all. These guys like to be on the dry side for sure. But look at how beautiful this leaf is. Yeah, this is considered one of my struggle plants for sure. And I hope that you guys are not experiencing this much trouble as I did. The white variegated is so easy compared to this. So yeah, just so you know, not all Syngoniums are built the same. This next plant is actually a species of the Maidenhair fern. There's actually many varieties of them. This is the smaller leaf variety. But a lot of these decline ever since I moved. I guess the potting mix here dries up too fast and I have to move some of them indoors. What I did was that I just put a top dressing of just pure cocoa peat on top. And look at that, that all bounced back to life. This was like crispy, like with no foliage at all for like 3 months. But yeah, this grew out of it. So I'm going to show you a few more examples of some Maidenhair ferns that I rescued. So if you have the same issue with your Maidenhair ferns, maybe this is how you can save it. But you do need to give it really good light, a bit of direct light, very good indirect light, and good airflow for this setup here. But they really thrive. Oh, and with these ferns, you really do want to trim the dead fronds off because otherwise they'll get in the way of new growth. So to prevent it from constricting itself to death, from being too bushy, it's better to just always trim it. So I'm going to do that now with this one. Here are some more examples of the Maidenhair fern that did well after the top dressing. This one put out a whole new beautiful frond. This was struggling for a really long time. Some of the leaves were scraggly before. And this one was really struggling. This frond has been around, because I had this indoors for like 3 months. They started dying out really fast, but after I top dressed it with cocoa peat, this one started emerging. I think this will retain its leaves quite well, and a lot of little ones are sprouting in the bottom as well. So they really enjoy kind of been sitting in a little bit of water as long as you give it good light and really good airflow. As you can see here, they really want to bounce in the wind. They don't want to be somewhere that has very little airflow. Here is a 9 weeks update. Look at all these new fronds. Lighter green are the new fronds. This is just about to open up. Look at all those little ones down here too. That's amazing. So you have been struggling with these guys for so long, and I really am happy to find that, you know, to just top dress them with cocoa peat is just the best solution to keep them moist and keep them happy. The next plant in trouble is this string of dolphins, which I'm a little bit ashamed of because I actually did a video on these. I just kept it growing out and then it just kept balding and balding. But the tops are all still growing, so it's actually doing kind of okay, even though the leaves are quite small. So I believe that this dried out way too much. It's probably not getting enough moisture. This is in my cacti succulent potting mix, terracotta pot. It's watered lightly every day, but it's so dry. I watered this today already, and look at how dry it is now in like 2 hours. I feel like a little bit of a fertilizer situation will also help benefit it, because some of these leaves, they can actually get enormous. They can get pretty fat and big. So I'm gonna start over, and I'm gonna, okay, this is turning into a propagation video. I'm gonna propagate them, and what I do is I just give it a really hard prune, because it's very, very leggy. I'm gonna even cut a little bit more from here. I'm gonna only leave like a few nodes down below, so hopefully something will grow out of the area where you cut it, like a few vines. And the top here, I also don't want this to be too long. Cut a little bit off. You can propagate this in water, by the way. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick this straight into soil. And I know that it's actually better to leave it to callus over 1 or 2 days before you put it into soil. I'm gonna do it right now only because I won't be watering this today. This is a completely dry general purpose potting mix, and I really want to make sure I don't overwater this plant later on in its later stage of life, because it's in a less porous mix as this. This is a little bit too porous for it, and this is actually a little bit too dense for it. So I'm gonna water this in 2 days time, and I'm probably gonna bottom water it so I don't get the top too wet. And yeah, so I'm gonna keep going with it. Some of them already have aerial roots, which is great. Like this one right here. So I'm just gonna slide it in like that. Slide it in. Yeah. And keep in mind the soil is dry, so I'm not really introducing a lot of moisture and bacteria into this uncalloused cutting. So yeah, I'm gonna completely finish this and I'll show you what the pot looks like when I'm done. Alright, so I'm done. Here's the parent plant. I completely cut it bald, but these little vines like that should appear from here if I don't kill it. So let's see in a few months time how it's going to recover. And here are all the cuttings. There's at least 20 cuttings in there. So let's see. Let's see how they do. Here's a 9 months update of the string of dolphins. Somehow they're giving me these really funky looking leaves. I don't know why it's doing that. And this is the parent plant from where we made the cut. It is branching out a little bit, as you can see here. Hopefully it'll get bushier. This is not a fast growing plant by any means. Or unless if you have success growing this quickly, let me know. But I don't know, the dolphins are just stumpy and short, so maybe it needs more time for it to become the normal dolphin shape, or maybe I may have deformed this to the point of no return, because I remember these guys are probably hybrids, so they may have become, you know, one of the parent plants, leaning towards one of the species because of stress probably. But yeah, I'm gonna observe this some more and hopefully it becomes more normal. But I struggle with these string of plants, by the way. I don't really have a lot of luck with them. Alright, this next one is a trouble child. So this is a pencil stick cactus. I'm going to insert the Latin name on the screen. And this is actually a very inexpensive plant, a very common plant. Like one stick like this would cost, I don't know, like so little. It'll cost nothing. I bought this really cheap, but I think I gave it either too much sun, which bleached it to this yellow, because I did put it in direct sunlight. Also, I may have also overwatered it, which could also cause this yellowing. But this plant did not grow at all since I got it. It just stopped kind of at this height and just didn't do anything for almost 2 years, I would say. So I've just been watching this plant just not do anything at all. So today I'm gonna try to kind of rescue it and see if I can get cool plants out of this, because it actually looks really nice when you grow them correctly. It's got this beautiful green foliage. So I'm gonna do that. Alright, so I've got 2 general purpose potting mix pots here, one in terracotta, one in plastic. Terracotta dries out twice faster than plastic pot, so I'm gonna see what happens. Again, I'm not going to callus these. Normally you can leave this out. Oh, it's bleeding a little bit, which means it's a sign of health. Normally you want to let the callus over and then pot it in for like 2 days because you want to prevent infection, but I'm not going to water this potting mix. So it's the very bone dry potting mix for the next 2 days. So hopefully this wound will heal up a little bit while it's in there. This is kind of the lazy person's way of doing things. All right, so I'm done. Bam. Here's a 9 weeks update. The parent plant is not looking so hot at all. Nothing has grown. It didn't show any branches. I think I'm ready to throw this, and I guess not all plants are meant for us. I guess we're just not suited to grow certain plants. I can't take this out of this pot, but let me check the roots. There's actually not a lot of roots in here. This plant, I've seen some people grow it as a tree, so it's like one single vine that branch out into like this massive tree. So maybe it is a little bit overcrowded here, but I don't know, nothing's happened and I'm done. I've given up on this plant. I don't love it anymore. But yeah, let me know if you know how to care for it. And here are the cuttings, and they're actually not getting the best light ever because they're living under a shelf. But let me tug it a little bit. Let me take one out. Nothing's happened. Nothing. What is this plant doing? What are you doing? You're not... Well, this one's happening. This one's rooted. This one's rotted. Let me see some more. This one's rooted. Actually, this one is rooted better. This one... Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. So I may actually end up with only one plant here. This one may survive. I may actually give this better light. So yeah. But sometimes when I give it too much light, the leaves do turn yellow. Light green, so maybe it doesn't want to be in too much light. I'm gonna put it here where it's get a little bit of that window. And then back here, I think I lost everybody. Yeah, this is a test, like after a few weeks, if you can pull it out easily, it's got no roots, it's time to let it go. We don't want to waste our time, yeah. This is definitely on my list of struggle plants that I may never try again. I don't know, or maybe I will. And in my hand here, this is an African violet. It flowered really beautiful for me and it grew quite a lot in my care. But then it stopped growing and then I noticed all these dying leaves. Found a huge colony of mealybugs at the base of this plant. So I sprayed some neem oil mixed with chemical solution. I do have a pest control video. I'm gonna link that up above. So if you wanna see how I control my pest. And then I repeated the treatment in about a week's time, and this is another week later and I don't see any mealybugs here at all. So this is fine, but I do still have these mushy bits that I need to take out. So it's actually very, very bushy now. It's fighting each other for light, and I do want to propagate this. Sorry, this is a propagation video unintentionally. But yeah, other than that, it's doing quite okay. So do treat your plants for pests and they should bounce back. Alright, so for these guys, they can be propagated either in water or directly into soil, and because of these really fuzzy leaves, they don't really like their leaves wet, I think. A lot of these fuzzy plants are velvety plants. They are very bacteria and fungus prone because water, there's too much surface for water to hang on to. So I may bottom water these. I did moisten the general purpose potting mix already, and I've actually propagated this before, and they do much better propagated directly into soil, faster than water propagation. But you can also water propagate them if you're not confident with your soil propagations. So I'm gonna put like 3 cuttings in one pot. And with a lot of these leaf cuttings, I like to keep it short on a petiole, because if it's too long, there's too much transfer of energy that's inefficient, because the roots are gonna form here and the pups are gonna form down below too. So yeah, I'm gonna just keep it like that and then give it a few weeks or months. It's gonna take months, I think. This is not a fast grower. All right, so this plant is really not doing that well. So this is 9 weeks later. The parent plant is kind of still alive, I guess. The leaves are a little bit curling. I need to figure out what's going on. There's probably, because I had past issues with this before, so there may be some more pests left here, but it's impossible to check for spider mites under these. So I'm just gonna need to spray it down. But here, the propagation, this one actually put out a new leaf here, which is very cute. This one seems to be rooted. The other pots, we lost them, by the way. The leaves just rotted and just threw them away. But this one's still surviving. This one leaf, I have a feeling, let me see. I have a feeling that it is well rooted in there, but maybe I buried it too deep and maybe the babies can't come out. Okay, I'm gonna leave it like this now so it can come out. Really misunderstood plant. This is not an easy plant for me, at least, these African violets. But they're beautiful when you can get the conditions right. But you can propagate them by single leaf, absolutely. And I've done that before. These two, in fact, were propagated from single leaves a long time ago. They're not fast growing by any means. They're one of the slower growing plants. And I have a feeling that if you give them a bit more light, they will give you this sun-stressed look on the leaves. But I will master this. Some of these plants I'm not familiar with. I'm gonna learn about them, and then someday I will share the proper care and propagation tips. The next plant here, it's supposed to be a Scindapsus trubii dark silver plate. And I think these days a lot of plant sellers are labeling everything Scindapsus, especially the famous one that's Affinis. I can't remember the name of the species, but it's mislabeled. But this is actually a wild ginger family. It's a Scaphochlamys. Oh my god, I'm not gonna butcher Latin here because this is new to me. I literally just crossed this out today because I was doing a bit of Googling. And yeah, this looks like it's a wild ginger family. It's not even a Scindapsus. So I've been letting this dry out almost completely, and I don't think I appreciated that. So I've got this plant for about a year now, and it's just did nothing. It grew very slowly, and it just kept getting these crispy edges. So it's in my general purpose potting mix. It's my aeroid potting mix. And let me look at the inside, see what's happening. So what I'm gonna do is I may actually bury this a little bit deeper in the potting mix to see if it will like that condition better. But yeah, it looks interesting. It does grow a little bit like a ginger plant. This is a sign of overwatering, actually. So what I really want to do, I'm so confused with this plant. I don't know, man. So these are the roots down below. I have a feeling that I could actually propagate these. Oh my god, again, I'm being greedy. I'm being greedy with my propagations. Yeah, look at this. This tells me that it can be propagated. I'm reaching out for my scissors. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes when you don't know what to do with the plant, it's declining. It's a good idea to start over. Why not? Because we really don't know what to do with the parent. So this is what one of the cuttings look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pot one of these back into its previous pot, and I'm gonna grow it in different potting mix. I'm gonna see which one it does best in. So this is a learning experience for me as much as it is entertaining for you probably. But this is actually a truly beautiful plant. It does have the Scindapsus vibes. It's got the leathery, thick, succulent-like leaves. Yeah, so just because it's not a Scindapsus doesn't mean that this is not something you should ignore. This is a truly beautiful species, but I do need to get the care down correctly. And I'm done. So this is in the original potting mix, aeroid with terracotta pot, although this is not an aeroid at all, this plant, but I just kept it in there. And that rhizome that we saw earlier, I actually cut it up into pieces and I stuck them in different portions in this different setup. This is forest floor potting mix, a little bit more airy, humid, and dries out way faster. And then there's this last one in general purpose potting mix. So let's see which one of them do well. Hopefully all of them. Yeah. Welcome to a 10 weeks update. It's raining and thundering, but I'm out here because I didn't film this portion while I was editing. So this one is doing all right. It's kind of surviving, but it's not thriving. This is the one in aeroid potting mix. And let me see, the other ones are doing well too. This is the one in the forest floor potting mix. I think this is doing the best. It's not focusing. Yeah, this is doing the best, I think. Look at the new leaves. That one is probably the leaf that we propagated with. And then this was the one in general purpose potting mix. This one's doing all right. This leaf hasn't really put out much growth. Oh, I see the shoot behind here. This is probably from the little offset that we planted in and the little one here. So it does help to cut up the tubers and to replant them. So yeah, this is a very slow grower, but I think it's not that difficult of a plant. But I would definitely give this forest floor potting mix. All right, so we finally have an Anthurium here. This is actually not doing that badly. Look at the new leaf here. This is so cool. but it's losing a lot of leaves suddenly. This is yellowing and falling off. This is falling off. This has come off. So it's also very thirsty. I noticed that I have to water this twice a day. But this is actually from our video, from our Anthurium crystallinum video, one of the propagates. So let me unpot this, because I suspect it's probably very root bound, which is why it's kind of suffocating. It's very difficult to take off. I lost a leaf, I snapped it off, but this is broken anyways. There, I'm done. Yeah, that's very root bound. Look at that. So beautiful though. It actually does still have a little bit of room in there for the roots to go, but I think it's already becoming very constricted because this is actually pretty fast growing. I do keep my plants in tight pots, as I mentioned in my video, but that's great because I'm an overwater. If I kept this in a really big pot, I may have overwatered this. But I think in this case, oh my god, I tore the baby leaf. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. I'm just gonna snap it off. I see a lot more growth points here though, like there are a lot. These are all like growth points here. So it's gonna burst into life. So I'm gonna actually give this probably, let me see, a plastic pot. Yeah, just one size bigger, no need to be too big. And I will repot this every 6 months or so because I do like to repot my plants. I like to check on them, check on the roots and make sure I don't overwater them. And then I'm gonna have to fertilize this because this plant is doing really well. So it does appreciate a bit of fertilizing at this point to, how cute is that? How pretty, hey. Yeah, I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna give you an update on how this plant is doing. Hopefully we'll see all these leaves burst into action. Here's that Anthurium in 9 weeks time. I cut off a few yellowing leaves. They were probably overwatered. That's overwatering. But this is also an older leaf, so I'm not worried about that. But up top here, we have some of the smaller leaves. I don't remember any new leaves growing, but Anthuriums, by the way, they do take time to take into the new potting mix, so they do take time to acclimatize. But once they get used to it, they will put out so many growth points here. But this plant is doing okay. I think it's still adapting. It is probably a little bit overwatered, if you ask me. But yeah, but alive, and I would say doing relatively well. We just need some more time. These guys, once they push out leaves, they'll push out like 5 to 7 at the same time. So, but I can imagine having a big pot of these grow. Like some of my neighbors do have that. I'm really envious of them because I keep chopping mine up. But yeah, they can do that if you give it more time. This next plant, I believe it's a fern. I've got this plant a long time ago. It's almost 2 years old. The local name is, I think, ecortupai. It's like squirrel's tail. I'm gonna insert the Latin name on the screen because I don't remember it. But it's supposed to have a bulb in there, but let's see. I have never unpotted this since I got it. But it's very root bound here. There's some oxalis. These are stowaways. I did not grow these. I don't know how they made it in here. But look at how cute. They have this pink stem on them. But they're very messy, very messy. I'm gonna remove you. Bye. Okay, so I don't know how I'm gonna unpot this, seriously. Yeah, I'm gonna just kind of loosen this up a little bit and then see if I can get it out. Alright, I managed to get it out without too much incidents along the way. I did notice there are a lot of mealybugs here, but this plant is actually trying to grow. It's very thirsty. I also do water this twice a day because I did notice that it's a little bit dry all the time. Because the oxalis in here will tell me that it's dry, it will just limp. Yeah, but then this plant, look at, this is so cute. Yeah, this is what it puts out, these little corms. Interesting. I'm gonna actually take these out and grow them separately, of course. I'm gonna propagate them. But I think this plant, even though it looks good in this very tall pot. The roots were only up to here. Down below here, there's a lot of space that the roots don't want to be in. So I'm not going to give it a deep pot this time, but I am going to take out the corms, and I'm going to try to reshape this because this is this long shape right now. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to put this into a bigger pot. This is how it's growing. How cute is that? This is actually a really pretty plant. It looks a little bit like a topiary without having to trim it. Yeah, super nice. And with these corms, it's actually very confusing. I don't really know which side up it is. Look at that. It's grown like this. So, because both sides have roots on them, this is so strange to me. I guess I'm gonna try to plant them sideways. Is that what I'm gonna do? Or you know what, I'm gonna pluck this off right. I think this is the sensible way to plant them. I guess this way up. Wish me luck. Alright, look at how nice it looks in the new pot. I think it's gonna be very happy. It was indeed very root bound, and I guess I need to be careful because of all these corms. It's telling me that this plant stores a lot of moisture in the root, so it doesn't like to be overwatered, and it does like to be bright. I think from these like very thin wispy leaves that they can catch quite a bit of light without burning up. So yeah, bright indirect, some direct should be okay. These are actually the corms. I planted them in here. There's about 12 of them. So let's see how they sprout in a few months time. But for this, actually for the corms, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of fungicide on top, because in my experience with alocasia, sometimes they can get attacked by fungus very easily. So yeah, I'll see you in a few months for this. Here's the asparagus fern, and I felt like a little one of the corms here. You hear that? Oh my god, the water just squirted at me. Look at that. Yeah, this is very much overwatered and rotted. I'm so sorry. I didn't do a good job on this, but you can probably imagine that they probably can grow that way. They can be propagated this way, but yeah, I have too many plants, and it's a sorry excuse. It's a really bad excuse, but I truly am sorry. And here is that mama plant. Let me get a closer look. Do I see any new growths here? Probably not. They do like a little bit more light, I think, than we give it. It's been living back there in bright shade, but nothing's come out of it. And I'm feeling that it's a little bit overwatered. If you look at how some of the leaves are a bit yellowing. Yeah, this is also very wet, very soggy wet. So maybe, I don't know, I need to figure this plant out. Some of the roots are like, yeah, that's a bit of rot. You see that? That's the root that's sticking out. Not a successful rescue, I think. Maybe it needs to be more greedy and more fast-draining potting mix, or maybe it just needs to be backed off with watering a bit more. I don't know. Tell me what I'm doing wrong, you guys, but this is very heavy. This is actually very wet. All right, so the next plant is pretty much the same issue. I believe this one's a Calathea or Tradescantia, but I'm guessing this is some form of Calathea. And this one is a Tradescantia. As you can see, they're a little bit different, but I could be wrong. If I do find out the species ID, I will have them on the screen, but I'm pretty sure this is a variegated, what do you call this, Tradescantia. In Tradescantia, they grow leggy like this, and you always have to cut them and propagate them. So when you, for example, this is a very long vine here, what you want to do is cut it all the way back. Cut it all the way down. So I left like 2 nodes down below here. So it's potentially going to push out 2 branches from here. And that's how you get them to be bushy again. And for the top here, I don't know, maybe you can, I might experiment with that. Okay, so first of all, what's wrong with these is that they are a little bit underwater. You see, there's so many crispiness. This is always dry. I water this twice a day and it's still very dry. Maybe because it is a thirsty plant. It is grown in very good light. Not direct, but bright indirect. And also the potting mix could be an issue. Same with this. It's in this nursery potting mix that it came in. So maybe I do need to give it my general purpose potting mix where it doesn't really dry up all that too much. And I'm going to actually try to propagate single node cuttings of these. I'm just going to cut it up like my wet stick propagations for aeroids. For example, let me take one. Like that. I'm going to just take that and put it on top of soil. So something may grow out of this. It should. Never tried it with Tradescantias, but they are tough as nails. These guys can grow in garbage. So I have a feeling it'll take off. But this is such a beautiful plant. Imagine a huge basket of this. Very nice, but I kind of neglected it, and that's why it looks like this now. Okay, I'm going to get started. I'm just going to show you what it looks like when I'm done. But yeah, this is before, and then let's look at the after Alright, so I'm done, finally. I guess this is all I'm gonna do for today. I spent like 3 hours of just filming and rescuing and propagating, but this is that Calathea, or Tradescantia, but I'm guessing it's the Calathea. I got a head start a few days ago with this one, but I ran out of small pots, believe it or not. I can't believe I'm out of pots. I propagated so much. This is the parent plant. So let's see, I did a lot of single node cuttings. This is single leaf cuttings, so let's see how they do here. This is the Tradescantia. Very similar. I also threw a lot of these wet stick here, so hopefully they'll take off, but I'm not sure. Fingers crossed, and I'll update you guys. So here's the 9 weeks update. Some of them are doing alright. Look at actually how beautiful they can be. But they are very leggy. These actually should be pruned often so that they become really bushy. Imagine like a beautiful cascading bushy plant of this. But yeah, I definitely didn't pay enough attention to all of these. Sorry, but this is a really pretty plant. Very fast growing, actually, I would say. I think a Tradescantia. This is a fast growing. Is it a Calathea or Tradescantia? I can't remember. But yeah, they're doing well. This one's not doing so hot. This is the parent plant from where we made the cut. That is trying to branch out, and you see the little thing there? It is trying to branch out. But yeah, this guy's like light. And this one is doing, oh my god, this is actually doing quite well. This is actually fungus rust, I believe, caused by rainwater. This one's also reverted. It's probably not bright enough. But look at how fat the stem is and also how thick the leaves are. They actually look quite nice. Look at that. This is actually very thick leaves. Very pretty. Oh my gosh. I'm actually starting to fall for this plant. But I'm going to need to propagate this some more. Because look at how leggy this is. So with these plants, you actually do need to propagate it all the time. And then if you grow this indoors out of the rain, or if you spray fungicide on it often, it will probably not give you this issue. And look at this baby trying to grow out of it. Yeah, fast growing, same with the other Tradescantias. And I don't know, I just love this plant. I guess that's everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Please do comment down below if you know any tips that I may have missed, because I'm not particularly experienced with some of these species, and your comments would really mean a lot to me and the other people who are also trying to figure out what's went wrong. I'm at botanist on Instagram. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions regarding plant care and propagations. I'll try my best to get back to you. Meanwhile, do take care and stay safe. I will see you in the next video. Bye.